Welcome to another episode of heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It. As always, I am Mike Chisholm. As always, I am excited to be hosting another conversation that hopefully will give some good food for thought for the listeners and the viewers out there. Chris Lloyd is the founder of In Pursuit, and we're going to talk about that here. We're going to talk exactly about what he and his partners are trying to do. You will see the connection to He Changed It very quickly. And Chris is a hell of a guy. And Chris, I've always thought you're a hell of a guy. I still do. And I'm really grateful that you have taken time out of your schedule to be part of the podcast today. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing really well. It's amazing. And I want to say thank you very much for all the kind words. And definitely want to say what you guys are doing is amazing. What you and Candace are doing is a good thing. And I'm grateful that you even asked me to come on the show.
Tell us what In Pursuit is.
And In Pursuit's a show that we do. We discuss like everyday problems, struggles, and stuff, how to work through it.
You talk about how people are stuck. Do they know that they're stuck? And if they do they know what they're stuck in? Or is part of what you do for people to kind of help identify some of this stuff?
Well, so stuck would be, most people are aware that they're stuck. They just don't want to admit it. Okay. I find a lot of people know that they are aware once you have the conversation. Most people wouldn't know that I wasn't aware of what I was doing in my life was wrong because, I had people liking me and want to hang around me. But it was like, when you step back, when we're all driving around the car by ourselves, we can see ourselves going, this is not the life I want.
Where you brought up the example of when you're at the wedding and you said that and you carried that with you. I mean, how many times do we have a backpack full of rocks that we're just carrying around us and it's getting hard to walk, when in reality, if I'm hearing you right, there are ways to help empty that backpack and make it so we don't have to hold on to that stuff anymore. And we almost create identities sometimes because of the failures or the experiences that we have. You talk about being married and having that. Some people having that collapse. Some people, they never get past that, do they? Because of carrying around things that happened in the past that they can't do anything about.
I would definitely agree. So you said I was married once to a woman who I dated for 5.5 years, married her, beautiful person, married her. And it just 4 months later, the marriage fell apart because we should never have gotten married in the first place. I was very self-absorbed. We were two friends living in one home together. And it was just unfair to both of us. And she made the choice, which I found later to be liberating for myself because she freed me of this spot that we both have put us in. And there was no blame. I forgave her. I remember sitting down with her dinner. We went out for dinner, but 5 months later, in the separation period. And I was just I love you. Thank you so much for standing up. I know that image was important to her. Self-image was important to her. So for her to do that, she did the right step, even though she was worried about judgment. She made the right choice. And it was actually encouraging for me to see that somebody who I thought only his image was important to make a statement like that, to stand up. She took a lot of courage to do that. And doing that, she taught me a lot. So I was like, I'm never going to do this again. So I never did that again. I became that open guy. So I got married again, but I still didn't do the most important part, was work on myself.
Right.
So I carried that victim mentality that got me into the first marriage. I never dealt with anything in the first marriage, go into the second marriage. So, and I carried that same pain into the second marriage. So, and carried it in any relationship. We say marriages. I just want 1 second. We carry these things into marriages. We carry this into every single dynamic of relationship with anybody, whether it's an acquaintance or anything else. It's who we are, how we present ourselves. And if we let our ego down, and I know the ego is there to protect us, but if we let it go for just a moment and take some time to self-reflect on where you are and what's going on, you realize that you can move forward if you just let go. And that's where I step in to help people through. Like sports coaches, why can't anybody play in the NHL without a coach? They're all know how to play. And you need someone to help bring it together, hold them accountable. And that's what coaching really is. So, yeah.
Anxiety is at I would say a record high as to where things are at. And unfortunately, sometimes if anxiety is a fire, there are things in our life and our culture right now where gasoline gets poured on that fire. I think about social media being a prime one. And when people are willing to stand up and talk about some of these things, and also how they cope with things like anxieties or some of these events, and what they do about it, it inspires others who are going through the same thing quietly, living those quiet lives of desperation.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, accusations. I went through a pretty hard time in my life. I went through accusations on social media pretty hard from um, my son's mother. It was pretty hard. Like, but I ignored it all. Like, I literally ignored everything. It's all off social media now. It was all taken down.
Right.
Whether they thought they had the right to do it or not, it's hard because it's a form of bullyism that we all have to go through,
Yeah.
that we shouldn't have to go through, that we all go through, that we shouldn't have to go through. You could sit there. I would sit there like, I have the proof. This is all wrong. This isn't true. I have the proof.
Right.
But somebody really important to me said, you can spend the time giving them all your power by defending yourself all the time, or you can let your light be your strength. And so I chose to become that. And trust me, I got around the right people, and I never once responded to any of that stuff. It didn't take swings at pitches in the dirt. Every time something negative came out, I came back responsive, forgiveness, and love for my son and for those around. And because I wanted to inspire people to not go through what I was going through, or how to handle going through what I was going through.
You mentioned some books earlier. Let's give if I can put you on the spot, and we can talk about maybe. I
don't remember the authors very well, but I know the book names.
Sure. What are some books that have helped you along the way?
So books that I was reading when I was going through the issue I just described. The book I read was called Walking on Eggshells. So
I've read that book.
So it's a phenomenal book, and it helps you. The weird part was when I was reading that book, I'm like, man, that's me. And I kept going, man, I'm the one that the other person should have been walking on eggshells. And you know what? There might be some truth. There might have been truth to that.
If I could jump in on that, so I've read the same book, Stop Walking on Eggshells, and it talks about dealing and we're victims. When we have someone in our life who has mental illness, in that book they talk about specifically about borderline personality disorder, but that is a very, very wide range of behaviors and things, and it talks from the perspective of the person who is dealing with that person, the victim, at the end of the day. And boy, oh boy, what an eye-opening experience when you can say, holy cow, somebody else is living with somebody who treats them this way during these circumstances. And you think you're alone. You think it's your fault. Sometimes they make you think it's your fault. That is a phenomenal book.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
I would agree with that as well. If there's a way that you can kind of unplug from the situation and realize that person is, they're not going to change whether or not you forgive them or not. But if you forgive them, you can let things go, and you're actually doing it for you. You're not doing it for them.
100%.
Because you want to let them off the hook, or you want to let them get away with something. It has nothing to do with that. They're going about their daily life, doing their stuff no matter what. And you're the one that's unfortunately holding on to the effects of those things. If you can let that go, you take away a tremendous amount of their power too. Is that not true?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that is the truth. The hard part is when you're in that storm.
Yeah.
To like, excuse me, but you're like, whoa, this person's beating me up. Like, I can't handle it. Like, if you can get around somebody, if you can't do it yourself, I really recommend getting around people that aren't going like, yeah, well, she said this, and I know you can't stand her. And it's like, anybody who's to slag the person who was hurting me and stuff, I would say, please stop saying that, because that person's hurting themselves. They just don't know how to handle it. You want to get around the right association. And I say that all the time. So what you're sharing there, 100%, you're forgiving them. It releases you from that prison of your mind. You wouldn't let a thief, Troy wrote that, you wouldn't let a thief break into your house. So why would you let a demon run around in your brain all day long? And it's so hard to let go when you don't have the tools.
Right.
And you got to get right. So like I said, association, right people, right books. In coaching, the most important thing I teach a man to be is the most powerful thing he can be, and that's vulnerable. And that is what I teach and coach men to do, is vulnerable, understanding their love language, understanding their sex language, understanding what they attract what they fear, they sabotage what they need. These are the beginning steps of where I go and I teach them how to work through that, and how, crucial tools to learn these things. And it's been life-changing for me. I love it. So, yeah.
Well, And at the end of the day, I mean, for guys who are out there that are in a situation where they may not know how to get out of it, and they're feeling trapped, you are proof positive that, hey, you know what, it does get better. There is light at the end of that tunnel, and there are tangible tools, which I think a lot of guys are really logical in the sense of, you give them a tool that they can use, a simple tool that they can use that is going to have tangible results in making them feel better. A lot of guys would be very excited about that. How important is it for community? How important is it to kind of open up and be vulnerable to somebody when you're feeling this way?
Okay, so this is a big one. I know we got limited time here, but this is a huge one, Mike, because I did a show I really loved doing a few months ago. It was on boundaries. Okay. So it's another thing I teach, I coach men on, coach men and women. Like I said, it's not just mentally, but I coach people on is boundaries. And people think that boundaries, they either have like this thing, like boundaries are too restricting, or boundaries really hurt everybody, or it makes me feel like I'm alone. And it's because people don't understand what boundaries are, and boundaries are there for you. So say, Mike, you and I are in a discussion right now, and I wasn't liking everything you said. And I had told you before never to talk to me about something. Sure. My boundary is, I say to you, Mike, you know what? I've had enough, but thank you so much. I really care about you, but it's time for you to go. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, so people live in the field, what I call the soccer field. It's 7 a.m. It just visualizes. You get 7 a.m, the whistle goes, you're like, excuse me, stay off my property. You're going around this trying to keep everybody off your property, but you have no fence, nothing, but it's you just verbal diarrhea your entire life all over everybody. Your story for everybody to hear. No one's earned a thing. You've just given it away for free. And we all know when we have stuff for free, it has no value.
Right.
So then you go the other way. Everyone's like, yeah, well, I'm not going to get hurt by anything. So fuck you. I got a castle wall. No one's getting in.
Yep.
Right. And that's where, but you ever know how the pendulum swings back and forth? Well, if you ever just like what's going slow motion, that middle one is a nice home with a nice yard, and it's a fence with a gate, and it says, you know what, you can come in right now. Oh, by the way, it's 5 p.m. It's time for you to go. I want my property back. Thank you very much. You choose who can come in. Not only that, they can look in. I mean, just, it's a little hoity-toity what I'm talking about, but I'm just like giving people a visual. Like your boundary is your property. So vulnerability can be the soccer field, but true vulnerability and freedom of that persecution for other people that you feel like you live by the what is it? I always say live by the, I forgot it right now. I always say it and I've forgotten it. Live by the praise of people, die by the criticism, right? So if you're going to be that's the soccer field, right? But if you can get away and don't worry about them, you're in that yard and you say, hey, you know what, you can come in, and you let people in and you let people out. And by doing that, anybody listening to this, by you doing that, you elevate the people around you who mean something to your life, because they're going to see like, hey, that's something I want to be. So like I want to say, it's like, you want to be free, get in that house, and you need, that's where I help people understand what boundaries are, because boundaries are beautiful. People think they're limiting. They are not limiting. It's like structure has discipline. Discipline creates freedom.
What you're saying, I think, is extremely valuable. I'm really excited for you, Chris. I'm really excited that you are filling your bucket, filling your cup with the things that drive you and make you excited. I'm proud of you. I'm grateful that you're able to admit that, hey, here's a guy who from the outside, people think, oh, he's got it all going on. And you are vulnerable enough to say, no, you know what?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
And you've been through some stuff too. And what you have gone through will help others go through similar things, and with less pain and less baggage. Maybe you've kind of trailblazed a little bit. So thank you very much for taking time out of your day to be here, buddy.
I love it. And thank you so much for what you guys have done. You guys are doing a great thing here, man. So keep it up. And I can't wait to see Candace on the show. I'm going to have her come on my show, I hope. So
yeah, none of it's me. All I get to do is host the podcast. It's all my wife and her team, but I will definitely pass that along. She'll be on your show soon. In Pursuit Global on Facebook. This is Chris Lloyd. My name is Mike Chisholm. Once again, buckets of gratefulness, of cheerful gratefulness being flung all over all of our listeners and viewers. Thank you so much for helping to move He Changed It forward. We want to make the world a better place. We want to change the definition of the word man up. Let's all man up together and move forward. for heCast, the official podcast of He Changed It. My name is Mike Chisholm. We will see you next time.